I tell you what, it would help if I put myself on the camera, wouldn't it? Good morning to you, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show from expatsportugal.com. My excuse is that we were up pretty late last night. We did an evening show yesterday celebrating the publication of Alison Sheldrake's excellent new book, A New Life in the Algarve. Let me just pop it on the screen. There she goes. And she had a really great selection of people from the book who are interviewees of the book. It's a collection of people's stories who have made their life in the Algarve. And we had Jessica Dunn, Clive Dunn's daughter. And I managed to say, you know, how much of a favourite phrase of mine was, they don't like it up 'em. Which I don't know quite what she made of that, but she's a great artist in the Algarve. Works with a collective and just putting on an exhibition in the Algarve currently, putting it together, hanging it today, I believe. We had Debbie Burton as well, pretty amazing woman who raised money for charity. A British Empire Medal holder on account of her incredible fundraising for Alerta. And we will be coming back to charities and fundraising in just a moment, because a special guest is Pam Smith today from Alcobasa, from our Ask Our Expats team, talking all about volunteering. We also had Clive Jewell, the Vice Consul of Portimao. Got to find out what a Vice Consul does and what a great character he is. And Ivan Schmada, from Relish magazine, who's a regular, you might have seen her before on Good Morning Portugal. So a great evening, and I must admit, I celebrated her publication of her book with a nice Alvarinho as well. So a great evening, but yeah, perhaps not in fifth gear yet, but that's only a matter of time before we slip into top gear this morning and tell you all about volunteering with Pam Smith, full name Pamela Smith from Alcobasa this morning. Good morning, Pam. How are you?
Morning. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for having an early start and joining us with this excellent idea of, you know, the old Kitchener idea, your country needs you. Of course, we're in a new country, which equally needs, I think, volunteer efforts. There's a great tradition of associations and community work in Portugal, and an ideal way for expats to get involved with the local scene, right, and contribute to society.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good way to integrate into society, to get to know people, to learn the language, and to also learn about social issues in your new country. So it's win-win all around. Everybody wins with volunteering.
Yes, very good. And you very kindly put together a little guide, a PDF with a few organisations, because I think that's the hard thing, is getting the access in the first place, isn't it? You know, where do I start? Where do I begin? What organisations do I connect with? And you've taken the hard work out of that.
I think in a lot of in like the UK, there's volunteering organisations that put you in touch with people to organise organisations that you can volunteer for in your local community. And here it's not as joined up, but there are places to volunteer everywhere in Portugal. There's lots of communities that need support in all different aspects of life. So
yes. Well, you say all different aspects of life. I mean, a lot of people are really crazy about animals, aren't they? So there's that. There's food banks. There's every kind of entry point or subject, if you like, for whatever moves you.
Everything,
Yeah, superb. And we've hit the right note for this morning. Bon dia from Louise this morning at Solo 50 Plus Expat Portugal. Wow, just thinking about finding a place to volunteer last night, and there you are. We're psychic here. On the Good Morning Portugal show. It all came together very quickly, because I think it was probably only yesterday you said to me, do you fancy doing a bit on volunteering? I said, yeah, how about tomorrow morning? And you said, yeah. And here we are. So there you go, Louise. If we go to a few more comments this morning, see how people are doing. We had a very simple oi from Carlos, which in Portuguese, of course, is not quite your Cockney oi. It's more of a oi or hola sort of vibe, I think. Good morning to you, Carlos, who says there are nasty winds and heavy rain in Volvo today. Short for Wolverhampton. He's really getting into the local vernacular there. Paul from the Circus School. Good morning, Cole. Happy anniversary. May the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with everyone this morning, of course. And celebrating 8 years of marriage myself here.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm treating it to a night out at the Coimbra Forum. Very romantic with all the kids. How good is that?
Nice.
Thanks, Pam.
You make it to 9.
Nice. Bon dia, everyone. From Farrow with a high of 22 today. Did you just say hope you make it to 9? There you go. I might have to rethink my strategy. Fantastic. Morning, Leslie from Faro this morning. 22 is good start to the day, isn't it? Good morning from Baltimore from Jim White. Fantastic. Bon dia, alegria from Milda in Norway. Or is it Finland? Oh my goodness, so sorry, Milda. Please remind us. I should know by now, but I'm in one of those situations where I'm thinking I can't remember, and then I unsettle myself by not remembering. Because when you get that thing where you can't remember someone's name and you've known them for 500 years or something, it's really worrying, isn't it? So you just call them, you go with a pronoun, don't you? Bon dia alegria anyway to you, Milda. Do remind us, and please don't take any offense. Happy anniversary for two very special people. Oh, bless you, Gary, who have entertained, enlightened, informed, inspired, and encouraged us through some very difficult times. Oh, bless you, mate. May your days be many and filled with happiness, accomplishment, and of course, much love. Thank you so much for all you've done for all of us in the community. Well, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. I was thinking of you this morning and anniversaries. You've got a big anniversary coming up, and looking forward to celebrating that with you as well. Because of course, we discovered this morning, didn't we, that the Gates, Bill and Melinda, pair of lightweights, they've thrown the towel in on their marriage. And to me, it's like, come on, Bill Gates, not to me, by the way. I get a slight chill when I think of Bill Gates, in the same kind of category as Tony Blair for me, but that's my problem, not anyone else's. And I'm thinking, okay, a philanthropist, amazing couple. Show us that with the marriage as well. They did this kind of Gwyneth Paltrow, Chris Martin thing. Is that, well, we don't think we can grow together as a couple anymore. Well, that's the whole idea of marriage, isn't it? Bill and Melinda, remain an inspiration to people and work through it. But anyway, enough of that. Penny Albert, hola, bon dia. Sorry, Pam, ranting there. Sunny here today, although yesterday turned into a windy, rainy TV day after a promising start. Good morning, Penny. I'm glad. It sounds like you had a nice duvet day in front of the telly. What were you watching on TV? Was it Loose Women? I think that's getting a remix, isn't it? Bon dia from Dave Goggin this morning. Morning, Dave. How are you doing? Stephen Wells is here as well, of course. Bon dia to you, Stephen. And our mates in Harrogate. There's no H in Harrogate if you're a proper Yorkshire person. 6 degrees, rain, gusty wind, 41 mile an hour winds. All right, lads, proper Yorkshire weather this morning there. Carlos Costa, bon dia. Mark Rigby, bon dia from a bright and sunny Povoa de Varginha this morning. Doreen Reyes in the States, bon dia, alegria y feliz aniversario. Thank you very much. And nearly at the end of the comments for now. Keep them coming in, though. Paul and Louise, bon dia, pessoas. Gusty winds, gushti. I'm going Portuguese there, and drizzle here in the UK. On the bright side, our ferry ticket is booked to return home to Portugal. They call Portugal home, Paul Williams, bon dia, alegria. It's windy, cold, but at least it's bright here just outside Southampton. Dave Goggin, Pam, look, first volunteer. Oh, but only on the beach. I'm sure that's possible.
You can volunteer on the beach.
There you go, Dave.
I've got an idea for you.
Excellent. It's freezing in Ireland, says Dave. Bon dia. There are places, projects to volunteer as a family. I suspect there are as well. The mystery will be revealed in just a moment. Good morning from Porto, from Ismael Barroso. Good morning to you. Norway, of course. I was right first time, and then I doubted myself. A beautiful sunny day in Porto, from the Shea Barroso, Casa Barroso there. Sean Maguire, happy anniversary. Cheers, Sean. Appreciate it. Jim, bon dia, Carl and Turush, and feliz aniversario, Carl and Mrs. M. Thank you so much. Only goes to show money doesn't make you happy in the long run. Yay, Gary. Might share the same view about Bill Gates as me. I think their marriage probably went a bit wrong when they both tried to run it on Microsoft Teams. Just speaking from bitter experience myself. Do you use? You're familiar with Microsoft Teams? How dare they?
Once or twice, not much.
And what did you think? What did you make of it?
It wasn't the easiest to use, and I know people that have had IT issues after loading it onto the computer.
Yes.
Kind of takes over everything.
It does, but that's Bill Gates all over, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, sorry. Bon dia from beautiful Tessera, from Donna this morning. Happy anniversary for Louise. Cheers, Louise. Great to see you yesterday. Parabéns to Carl, which is there with your anniversary from Paul Louise. Cheers, appreciate it. Jim, this is a lovely idea. I'll be looking to volunteer at a dog shelter or dog rescue. That's very doable. And finally, for now, from David, God morgen. From Denmark. Good morning to you in Denmark there, David Thompson. Fantastic. So before we get into the volunteering, we need to find out a bit more about you. You're part of our Ask Our Expats team, of course, at Expats Portugal. That's how we met. And you represent very beautifully. The Silver Coast area, specifically Alcobasa, right? What took you there in the first place, Pam?
Well, I'm from Manchester in the UK. We bought a holiday home in Portugal in 2005 near Tomar in a tiny village, really peaceful, quiet village. Loved going on holidays there for 10 years. Then we moved here in 2015, but we'd already decided we weren't country people. The pace of life in the countryside was a little bit too slow for us. So we were looking for a city and to be a little bit nearer to the sea. And Alcobasa is kind of midway between Caldas and Leiria, and also very close to the beaches of Nazaré, São Martinho. And it's a nice sized city. I like that. It's not like a tiny village where everybody knows everybody's business, but it's also not as impersonal as a big city. I can walk into town and bump into 3 or 4 people I know, and I like that. I like that size of town. So yeah, it suits us really well. We've been here 6 years now, and we love it.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. But very interesting you should say, when you first came to Portugal, you chose to be in a small village near Tomar, because a lot of people, that is their aspiration, isn't it? For me, it's the same, actually. It's like, yeah, we'll get into the middle of nowhere, and you discovered that wasn't quite right for you. And is that based on the like too much insularity and too much remoteness?
Well, I think so. Yeah, there just wasn't enough going on. We've not really done any gardening. We've always lived in cities. My husband doesn't drive. So even just a few months that we lived there permanently, it was just a little bit too much, just the two of us in the house all the time, and not enough interaction with the community, really. We wanted to move to Portugal to make it our new home, to feel at home here, to integrate. And we knew everybody in the village and everybody knew us because we've been going there for 10 years. But they were mainly much older people, and our Portuguese wasn't good enough to communicate with them. And everyone tried to speak to us in French, which didn't help. I speak zero French. It just didn't feel right for us. We had some fantastic holidays there. It's the most peaceful, tranquil place in the world. But to live, it wasn't for us.
So that's something people might want to put in their considerations about. It is very sort of romantic and idyllic, isn't it? To think middle of nowhere is. Oh, hello, we've got a visitor in the room. Who's that?
That's Gary.
Hello, Gary. Good morning, Gary. What a great name for a cat. You're a little bit quiet, Pam. I think that's because I'm a bit noisy, personally. But we get a couple of requests. If you could shout a little.
The microphone a little bit closer. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm fascinated by that, because I think that's worthy of consideration, because so many people watching this show and who are part of Expats Portugal are working on their plan to be here, and that's a very worthwhile consideration. The idea of being in the middle of nowhere, could you really cope with that long term? And you make a really great distinction there. It is lovely for a holiday, isn't it? But maybe not for the rest of your life. And being on holiday and being here for the rest of your life in Portugal are two very different propositions, right?
For some people, I think it does work out, the big transition to the countryside.
Yeah.
Maybe people that grew up in the countryside are more ready for that kind of adjustment. And some people really want that. They love the gardening and things like that. But it just wasn't for us. I think it's just being aware of the realities of what you want to do day to day and what you want to have access to. Like for me, driving 20 minutes to buy a pint of milk isn't ideal. I don't want that. I want to be able to walk to a shop.
And that's the setup you've got now, is it? You actually are in the town of Alcobasa. You can go do all those things.
Oh, yeah. We have a car, but we don't use it every week.
Wow.
Day to day, we walk everywhere.
How lovely. And I have to say, Alcobasa is a beautiful town. The river running through there. It's got an artistic vibe to it, to me. Seem to be a lot of creative people there. And obviously the monastery is a very significant historical monument there. And there's just such a lovely atmosphere. Is the king still there, wandering about on the plaza there?
Because I've not seen him for a while. No, I think
You know the guy I mean?
I do, yeah. The guy with the curtain. He
the guy with the curtain. Well, he wears a curtain as a kind of
it's like a
robe.
velvet curtain he wears as a cape.
Yes, in the middle of summer.
Yeah. I've not seen him for a while, but I guess he'll be back now that things are opening up. There's been no tourists, so
that's his lifeblood, isn't it? We got to know him, he frightened the kids first of all, and then I got chatting to him. And he I don't know which, is he Pedro? I think he plays the part of Pedro as a historical figure, because there's the story of Pedro and Inish there, of course, who are immortalized with their love and their story in the cathedral there.
Yeah, the romantic love story that personally I think sounds a bit grim, but
go on, tell us about it.
Well, it's sorry, she's standing in front of me now. The king wanted his son to marry a certain woman, so he did. She brought her handmaid from Spain with her.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, this is inevitable. If there's a cat in the studio, this is what has to happen. We're going to get a view. We'll get a view of the tea towel holder in a minute. You can bet your life on it.
Yeah, she's good at that. So the story is that Pedro wanted to marry Inez, who was the maid of his wife, but his father didn't allow that. His wife died, and he still wanted to marry Inez. They had a relationship over years anyway. But his dad, the king, killed Inez. Then when his dad died, Pedro had all of his servants killed who'd been involved in killing Inez, had her body dug up, made them kiss her hand, and crowned her queen. It's a little bit grim, I think.
It is, and there she sat. I mean, part of it's romantic, yeah. That bit not so much. And there she was, exhumed and placed on the throne. And yes, they had to kiss her probably rather bony hand by that stage. Yeah. So a great day out for the kids to take them to the monastery to hear that story and delight and wow them and other tourists. Yeah, looking forward to seeing.
Tombs are fantastic to see. They're fantastic, intricate tombs, and the Jardin d'Amour is nice, romantic little park.
Yes,
so they've built some things around this story, which is nice.
And what I love about the monastery and the vibe of Alcobasa, where you live, is that it's not very precious either. I thought to myself, there are kids riding around on skateboards here. There are dogs running across and doing what dogs do on the pavement outside the monastery. And if it was Britain, where I'm from, it would be a National Trust property. There'd be a fence around it. You have to pay 20 quid to get in. There'd be loads of people there telling you, don't touch this, don't touch that. But people are so relaxed about their monuments in Portugal, aren't they? You can touch things, you can look at things. All of life is there.
Yeah, we've got a castle in Alcobasa as well. It's just ruins. It's not really a castle there. It's on a hill. But you can go up there and climb on it and everything.
It just wouldn't happen in Manchester, would it? I don't think.
Have we got a castle in Manchester?
We'll get an answer to that. Don't worry. So it's probably we've got a Yorkshireman.
Remember one.
The Yorkshire people probably ruined it years ago, or Henry VIII.
Yeah, they trashed it.
Yep, indeed. A few more comments then. Is there a Rotary or round table in Portugal, or international organisations which bring people together and do great work for the kids? Are you familiar with Rotary in Portugal?
They do exist. I know that they exist. I don't have any contacts with them, but I have seen evidence of their work.
Me too.
Certainly in Leiria. Yeah, I guess they've got a website where you could find out stuff.
Yeah, and you see the plaque. It is truly international Rotary, isn't it? And one of the great fun things about Rotary, of course, is if you get involved in it, you have a nice dinner and a speaker, and you do your charity fundraising. I think we're talking about a slightly different angle, aren't we? You're like getting your sleeves rolled up and getting in at the dog rescue centre in a minute. But Rotary is definitely here. Stephen Wells saying, office paperclip, you appear to be having marriage trouble. Would you like a divorce letter template? Remember the little paperclip? They quite wisely got rid of that. Jim McDonald appreciating that. That is funny, Stephen. Bon dia from Joel up in Matosinhos this morning. Okay, we've got the sound sorted out now. Susan is here. Good morning, Portugal, from Susan. What village were you living in, Pam? It's important not to be isolated, so build a social network if you can. Surprising how many immigrants there are around here in central Portugal, the Tomar area. Which part of Tomar were you in, if you don't mind saying?
It was actually in Freire de Cesare. It was the village was called Almogadel, which is part of a slightly bigger village called Schausch.
Oh yes, yes. Well, written as chaos, isn't it? Is that the Schausch you refer to?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And I mean, did you ever do that thing where you were driving into Schausch and say, "We are literally descending into chaos here"? Or was it just me that? Okay, excellent.
Yeah, my husband's got a picture of himself by the sign saying, scratching his head saying Schausch. Yeah.
Total and utter Schausch. Yes, and I'm sure the locals think, why do people keep stopping and taking pictures of themselves with our town sign here? And from Mark in Australia this morning, bon dia. Okay, so we have got a morning to you, Mark. Hope you're doing well. And so we've got this lovely list, which I'll put in the Expats Portugal forum later on today, because I think this will be of great interest to people. There is a yearning to fit in and belong, and this is a great way of doing it. So should we go through these one by one, Pam? Is that the right way to do it?
Yeah, we can do. There's other ideas around this, like that doesn't include any animal shelters, which is obviously a very popular volunteering opportunity for foreigners, because lots of people love animals, and it's quite a visible problem, I think, in Portugal, that there's abandoned animals about. But yeah, we can go through. So Banco Alimentar is food bank, basically. And those are a national organisation. And the way you can get involved is periodically they have collections in supermarkets, where they stand at the entrance to supermarkets and give out bags to the shoppers and ask them to buy some items to donate, basically. So usually before the week or so before that, they'll ask for volunteers. So it's quite an easy way to get involved, and you get to meet people in the supermarkets. And there's always a need for food banks, unfortunately.
Yes, especially so. Yeah, absolutely. And that is a lovely system, isn't it? And you give as much as you want, fill the bag up, give it to the person on the way out. And yeah, of course, as you say there, you could engage with that person and get more hands-on in the community, couldn't you? Maybe with the delivery end of things as well.
Yeah, I think they have volunteers obviously packing up the packs to give to people as well.
Yeah. I mean, I heard a terrible statistic. I think it might have been Paul who said this the other night. There are more food banks than McDonald's in the UK now, and I don't suppose that Portugal is any different. You know, there is a real poverty problem that's been exacerbated by the pandemic. So yeah, when we're out and about shopping, great idea. Fill the bag up and give it to this wonderful organisation, which, as you say, are all over Portugal, right?
Yeah, I'd say in most towns. So in your nearest town, you could inquire.
Yeah.
Or just look at the website and find what there is near you. I couldn't find any information on their website in English, so that might be for people that have learnt a bit of Portuguese already.
Yes. And you said before, didn't you? I mean, this is a great way to brush up on your Portuguese. It struck me that if you go and volunteer in a place where people only speak Portuguese, you're going to learn the language pretty quickly if you can bear to do that.
Well, that was a big part of my motivation to volunteer. It was, I wanted to come here and be part of the community, and I wanted to learn the language. It turns out to be quite a hard language to learn. But if you're not working, if you're retired, it's quite hard to meet people, because even in the UK, you meet people through school or through work. And here, okay, you can go to school for Portuguese, but you're only meeting other foreigners. Yes. So volunteering is a good place where you get to meet people. You've got a common purpose, so you've got something to talk about. You learn how to have day-to-day conversations with people, and you get to meet a lot of nice people. It's really good for integrating.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
So you were saying, especially...
It's good for meeting people and making friends, and lots of interesting people that you can meet.
I bet.
And some of you volunteering.
Yeah, of course. And if, you know, these people are putting themselves out and about to help other people, which is a great basis, isn't it? And I think
that nice people as well.
Nice people. That's the word I'm looking for. And you know, when typically I think of like people who are so brave who go to the UK and can't speak English. They may well be in a job where they are in a kitchen or something like that, and they have to learn really quickly. I mean, I've had colleagues at the charity I used to work at, people who came over from Romania or whatever, and barely could speak English, and put themselves in the front line of catering. Or behind the scenes, but you still got to learn to speak English very, very quickly. And I take my hat off to people who do that. And it's a fast way to learn, isn't it? The immersion really helps. All right, so that's the food bank. Let's go on to the next one.
So Caritas is a church-based charity, and they do a variety of support. They support people with food and clothing, whatever's needed in their local community, but they also do wider schemes. Like they had a scheme last year, I think, sewing dresses for schoolgirls in Africa, which basically you just get involved. If you've got a sewing machine at home, they'll provide the material. You just use a pattern and sew some dresses, because the reason that some girls were not accessing education was because they didn't have reasonable clothes to wear at school. Wow. So they seek out what's needed, and they provide support like that.
Amazing. Yeah, how wonderful. Okay, and that's one where you can stay at home, and if you're a bit of an introvert but you still want to help out, that would be a good angle, wouldn't it, to take?
Yeah, I guess so. And they often have, certainly here in Alcobasa, they always have a stall whenever there's any fair on. They'll have a charity stall where they sell food, and you can help out on that kind of thing as well.
Superb. Okay, that's Caritas. Quercus, which is means oak, doesn't it? Isn't that Latin for oak? This is an environmental NGO.
I think so. Yeah, I've just put them because there's there are other environmental charities, but they're like the big one in Portugal, and they've got a good website with lots of things that they do. But another idea, just going back to the beach, you want to volunteer on the beach.
That's Dave, yeah.
Is if you live near the seaside, quite often at the beginning or the end of the bathing season, there'll be organised beach cleanups where you go litter picking. So it's just a one-off, or there'll be a series of them in the local beaches, and you just go along and pick litter. But it's hard work, I think, but good for getting your beach clean and also for meeting local people. So and if you can volunteer on the beach.
And it's going to end with a barbecue and a few beers, isn't it? Obviously, if it's Portugal. I can't imagine Portuguese people would let you go home after that without feeding you. So I'm guessing there's a party at the end of that. We make even more to clear it up again. But still, that sounds like a good one. Get involved with a bit of beach cleaning there, Dave, in Ireland when you come over. Re-food. This is a great idea. Very timely, isn't it? Reduce food waste and provide food to those in need. A little bit different to a food bank by the sound of it.
Yeah, Re-food is the one that I personally know the most about because I've been volunteering for them for 5 years. They were actually created by an American in Lisbon, and he was addressing two needs. One was that a third of our food goes to waste. So it's addressing food waste, and it's also addressing the need of people that can't afford to buy decent food. Mm-hmm. So the way it works is Re-food are all volunteers. There are no paid staff, and they will go to restaurants at the end of the day, restaurants that have signed up to be partners, and collect any leftover food. They'll then take that food back, refrigerate it, or give it out straight away to people that need it. So they'll have beneficiaries who are people who've been interviewed and accepted as needing support, and they will come so many times per week to collect food, and the food will have been donated by restaurants with what they had left over at the end of the day, or cafes will donate bread and cakes that they've got left over. Some supermarkets donate. Sometimes, like the Bombeiros, if they have a party and they've got food left over, they'll donate what's left over. Amazing. So once it's established in a community, it becomes, if you've got some surplus food, that's where it goes, and you know that it won't get wasted. It will go to somebody who needs it.
That's brilliant.
So The way that it works as a volunteer is they ask for 2 hours a week. There's usually a shift each evening where you divide up the food to give to the people. You give it to the people, and there's inevitably a lot of washing up afterwards. So, but usually there's a group of 5 or 6 volunteers in a shift. So even if you don't speak Portuguese and everybody's Portuguese, there's a good chance there'll be somebody on the shift who speaks some English and will help you.
Yes. Yeah.
And it really is a good way to integrate yourself into the community. You'll get to practice speaking Portuguese. You'll get to hear people speaking Portuguese. And you also get to help people and save food waste. It's just good all around.
It just sounds great. And it's the ideal opportunity to learn a few Portuguese swear words as well, because that's what happens, I think, isn't it? When people are teaching you the language, they it's not like being at school. You learn the colloquialisms, which is fantastic.
You especially ReFood learn all. You get to recognise all the Portuguese dishes.
Yeah.
As the food comes in, it's like, this is arroz de pato. This is
yes, of course,
panadas. This is, and you get to see all the different food. You get to see the food from your local restaurant. So you look at it and you think, oh, that looks nice. I might go there.
It's advertising for the restaurants as well, and obviously you get a bit of a shock when someone says in Portuguese, "Pass me a knife," but that's another matter. But maybe we'll come back to that, because that's your own favourite one, right, and the one you're most involved in.
It's the one I've been the most involved in, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Any questions you've got, folks, do put them in the comments. Remar, working with refugees. What is the refugee situation as you see it in Portugal, Pam?
Well, I worked in the refugee sector in the UK for a time. I think there are much fewer refugees in Portugal. I think the services to integrate them are good, but not very well funded. I don't think they're very well funded in the UK now either. So it's good to see how you can support people. I think there's a tendency that refugees don't want to be here because they want to be where they perceive they can get a good job, like Germany, or where they can speak the language. And a lot of them speak English or French. So it's not a popular choice, I think. So a lot of people get the status and then leave, unfortunately, because there are not the opportunities. And recently there's been, I don't know if you've been following the story in the Alan Tay show about exploitation of migrant workers. It's a different thing, but it's kind of, I imagine volunteering at somewhere like Remar would open your eyes a little bit to those issues that people face. Because coming to Portugal as a foreigner is different for us white, rich Westerners to people that are coming here fleeing war.
Yeah.
So
that'd be quite an education, as you say. They're working at remar.pt. Amazing. Okay. Now, somebody said to me the other day they saw a statue of Baden Powell somewhere quite obscure in Portugal. Okay. This would account for it, wouldn't it? Scouting movement. Yes, I remember seeing scouts in Lisbon. Some full-on grown-up scouts, and it's quite something to see a grown man in a scouting outfit. It's something to get used to, because I think it's a little bit less formal than that in the UK in the scouting movement now. But they seem to be doing an amazing job taking massive groups of kids out, and they'll have a big stick and they'll have their toggle, is it whatever they wear, and their hat and their woggle, and they've got their hiking boots on and some big furry socks and stuff, and they really look at the tassel. Yep, the whole thing is going on there, and what's his name? Bear Grylls would be very proud of them. So it is big it's still big in Portugal.
It is, yeah. There's certainly a couple of groups around the Alcobasa area, and you see them out and about. Yeah. Certainly, if you go walking in the countryside, they're often there. Me and my husband got lost once in the national park and got rescued by a group of scouts.
Sorry to laugh, but so you were thinking, how, we
were following the signs and they stopped.
Yeah, that happens. That happens here, doesn't it? But I mean, I imagine if it's a scene from a film, you'd be getting quite desperate and you'd be taking sips of water just to pace it out a little bit. The sun's going down; it's getting a bit chilly. You get your Kendal mint cake out, as all people from Manchester have probably got somewhere in their rucksack, and you're suddenly alerted to 300 scouts saving your life coming down the road. What's that noise? It's some scout leaders with 300 kids or something. So and
they gave us an apple and a bottle of water and pointed us in the right direction.
Yes, that's fantastic. Love that. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a great moment in the movie of your life, isn't it? Oh, so you've got a special fondness for the scouts, obviously, after saving their lives that day. Brilliant. Okay, so there's some, and of course, some people maybe have been in the scouting movement themselves with their kids back in the day.
Yeah, that's why I've put it up there, because it's something that a lot of people are familiar with, and it's something that you can get in the outdoors. You can go camping and do the outdoors life and also help out. I don't know what opportunities there would be if you don't speak Portuguese, but certainly if you're into that, if that's what you really want to do, I'd contact them, because by the nature, it's a lot of young people. They've all studied English at school. I don't imagine it would rule you out completely.
I think not. I mean, I've done a little bit of volunteering, tiny bit, a couple of visits to the local school. And what they want is someone to come in and speak English. So that's a bit of a cop. I know that's a massive cop out, but it's quite a nice way of being in the culture. I mean, I was so impressed with the local school and the school kids. They were so attentive and respectful, and they gave me a bottle of wine, which was really went down well, and some honey. Word had got around at our family like honey. So we're given this party bag to go away with at the end. But that's another thing. People do want to learn to speak English here. So you can offer on that basis, can't you? Or go in with your specialist skill into a local school. They were, of all people, they asked me to talk about business. So I told them what I knew, which didn't take long. But the specialist subject, learning English, a lot of organisations I think will be open to that. So if the language,
there's a couple further down the list that speak, and Universidad Senior, if you want to volunteer to teach English, those are.
Okay, well let's go to those. Language buddies that speak and Universidad Senior. What? So that would be for somebody who is really uncomfortable with the Portuguese and might like to speak English and work with the local community that way.
Well, Speak is it's kind of a language school, but it's all run by volunteers. All the teachers are volunteers. You can learn Portuguese with them, but you can also teach your own language if it's English, or if you're fluent in another language.
Norwegian.
They have language buddies who kind of help people to settle into the new town. It's more than just a language school. It's kind of more of a welcoming people to the new community kind of a organisation. And they're quite a new organisation. They're quite forward thinking, and they're certainly worth a look, if only for the very reasonably priced Portuguese courses that they do.
Excellent. Wow, that's really good to know, isn't it? And then the seniors university, that suits our demographic, dare I say it?
Yeah, you have to be over 50 to go to them. I actually started going there when I was 45, but they make an exception for learning Portuguese. But they're really good. All of their teachers are volunteers too, and they'll offer courses on whatever they've got teachers to teach. So our local one does arts courses, Tai Chi, drama courses, history courses, languages.
Brilliant.
And even if you could offer your services to teach English, or you could go along and do an art class, which again is a good way to meet people and learn the language associated with the hobby that you want to do. Or if you're a bit better at your Portuguese, you could maybe do a history. Yes, it is the same as University of the Third Age, by the way, Mark. If your Portuguese is good, then the history is a really good way to learn Portuguese history with other people that are interested in it.
Yes, and what an amazingly rich subject history is in Portugal as well. So that's fantastic. So it is like U3A. Some people would be familiar with that. We've got the Silver Coast volunteers as well. Obviously, that's a bit handier if you are on the Silver Coast. That marvelous part of Portugal. where I'll be next weekend. The countdown to Caldash has begun, and so this is one I could get involved with, isn't it? Are you part of this one?
I'm not, only because they're a little bit far from me. They're kind of based around Caldas or Bidgosh.
Okay.
So I know of their work and they do good work, but it's a little bit far for me to go on a regular basis.
Right.
They do kind of ad hoc volunteering projects. So they do collect food for food banks. They support the Bombay Rush. If there's bad fires, they'll collect drinks and snacks for Bombay Rush. They collect the bottle tops for a disabled boy. They have a spare change collection for animal shelters.
Excellent.
And they also get physically involved. I know they've been involved in painting some of the community buildings around Obidosh recently. They've got the book exchange at Obidosh, which is a place where you can go and get free books. You can donate the books that you've read and you don't want any more in English or other languages, and you can collect books. So it's kind of a recycling.
Very good.
Effort. But also they have volunteers to man the shop. So that's, if you want to just meet people, but your Portuguese isn't great, then you'll meet mainly other foreigners there. But you will meet a lot of people. If you volunteer in that shop, it's very, very busy and popular.
Is it?
So it's a great place to meet people.
This is brilliant, Pam. Thank you so much for doing this. So we'll come back to ReFood, because I think that's such a special organisation, one that you work on. But Woofing, and we could include Workaway in this, that Louise has mentioned as well, right? So what's the deal with Woofing? If somebody who hasn't heard of that before is going to think, Woofing? Is this a dog charity? No.
Well, this is kind of... It's a more international scheme where it's basically like if you want a working holiday, you can have a look at the what's available, and you go and spend time working for your keep, basically. So you'll work on a farm and they'll put you up and feed you usually. It's a good way to, if you're looking around Portugal and you're not sure where you want to live, but you think you want to live in the countryside, then it's maybe a good way to try a few places out. And also, if you've got a lot of land or farm and you need help, you could maybe advertise on there and get some interesting people come and help you, just for offering them somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
So it's a different way to look at volunteering.
Absolutely. Yeah, great idea. In fact, when I first came to Portugal, 12, 13 years ago, I went to a woofing site. I kind of copped out a bit because I told everyone I was making podcast recordings with the people experiencing woofing, so I didn't get my hands too dirty, as some people won't be surprised to hear. I think a gentleman farmer approach, but it was really fantastic to meet people from all over the world, including one woman I remember who was from Silicon Valley in America, who was kind of burnt out and needed to get to a change of scene, and she described. She was a bit hesitant, and she said, "Oh, I've got a bit of a pooping problem." And this is somebody who is obviously used to the most, cutting edge sanitary technology, who in her woofing site was having to use a composting toilet, which caused her some discomfort, I have to say. But I think she got used to it by the end of it. But not all woofing sites use composting toilets. There are modern facilities and a range of facilities all over the world and all over Portugal. But as Pam says, a tremendous way to get involved. Louise is doing that. I belong to Workaway. Okay, so Workaway, not woofing, but would like to volunteer on a day basis without the accommodation part. Oh, there we go. So that's a personal volunteering request from Louise. Doesn't want to stay over for the communal meal thing, which is always good fun as well. It's an interesting part of staying somewhere, isn't it? To be part of the communal meal and find out about people. Like the best thing about staying in a hostel, we have the communal meal, sit down, share a bottle of wine or whatever. But Louise wants to pop in on a day basis. If anyone's got olives to pick, cherries to pick, slugs to pick, I suspect, so any kind of work on the land, Louise sounds like she's open to that. So yeah, Workaway and woofing. We'll come back to your ReFood in just a bit. Let's see what people are saying here. Did you say you lived in a place called Almogadon?
Almogadel.
Almogadon, okay, slightly different. So yes, Almogadon is the sleepy village, probably quite close to Alviagra, where Gary and Linda live.
Alviagra, see, yeah,
yes.
it's very close. That was our local swimming pool. Very nice swimming pool.
It is Alviagra, as it's properly called, is an amazing town, isn't it? But the word or the phrase Alviagra seems to have stuck. And many people from outside the country are now wondering where this Alviagra place is in Portugal. So who knows? It might be in lowly Planet before long. Waste seems to happen more in cities because the countryside is split between chicken, pigs, ducks, etc. Yes, fewer pickings, I think, to share. So the ecosystem of the countryside, of course. I came in late to this, says Colin Richardson. Good morning, Colin. Is the PDF published in the forum? No, but it will be. This is such a brilliant resource that Pam's put together for us. I will make sure it's in there in the forum after the show today. And what we'd love to hear is in that thread. Let us know if you reach out to one of the organisations, get started, and come on the show later and tell us about your experience. Bon dia from Let T Speak. Bon dia, bon night, whatever time it is. Someone a little bit disorientated there. Bear Grylls always sounded to me akin to something like ostrich burgers. Yes, the Bear Grylls. Let T Speak, I think, is going to meet with Louise. Love to volunteer and catch up when we're there. So that's people volunteering together who don't know each other. That sounds great. Ian, hola todos. Are there opportunities for sports coaching? In my case, athletics. This is our growing old disgracefully pal, Ian, who's going to be doing a bespoke class for us soon. On staying fit as you're getting older. Are there any requirements such as DBS certification as there are in the UK? So he's Dwayne Chambers' coach, a part of Dwayne Chambers' coaching team. Do you know anything about this? How Ian might get involved in athletics or sport here, Pam?
I do know most reasonable sized towns have a local stadium like ours here. We've got a local football team called Ginásio Alcobasa. They're not very good. But they do have teams for all different age groups, boys and girls, and an adult team. And they have training sessions all the time. So I imagine if you went along there and asked, could you help with the training? There's generally a lot of sports facilities, I think, in the towns and cities of Portugal. The stadiums as well have a running track that's free for use for all the community, which I think is a great resource for free. But I'd just check out your local sports clubs and teams. Like we've got tennis, football, handball, roller hockey, cycling, running.
Pretty much everything, right?
And approach whatever your sporting interest is, approach them and say, can I help with the coaching? And I imagine you'd be welcomed.
I think Ian makes a good point there, because in any volunteering in the UK now, where I'm from, seems to be, first of all, you have to go into several weeks of checking and safeguarding and so on, quite understandably. Are you aware of how that works here in Portugal?
I've not volunteered with children myself, but yeah, I imagine there will be some checks to do if you want to work with children.
Yeah, because of course they don't know you from Adam, but this is all part of integrating into a community, isn't it? Where the natural safeguarding can take place after you distinguish yourself as a stranger at first. But yes, the good offer, Ian, and yes, sporting facilities in Portugal are just incredible. Even in the most remote places, there's so many sporting activities and associations. Mark must have put the toaster and the kettle on at the same time. Trip to views here in Portugal. So ReFood, interesting history. You say an American in Lisbon started that. How's it grown across the country, and is it well received?
Yeah, they've been going for 10 years. They had their 10th anniversary this month or so ago. And there are a few in Lisbon, and it's kind of spread out. So in most cities, I would say now, certainly there's one in Caldas, there's one in Leiria, there's Alcobasa, and they just spread when there's a need. Like there was just before the pandemic, they were looking to spread to Porto de Mos, which is a smaller town near Alcobasa. But there's a need, and there was an organisation that was prepared to take it on, and they came to the Alcobasa one. We worked together to train people in how we work, how we operate, and it's good.
Tremendous,
to share that knowledge and help a new community.
Indeed, indeed. Well, here's their website. I mean, it's great. Be the change. Precious but small periods of time and talent and some care can make a difference. You are invited, they say. This is a translation from the Portuguese website. Yeah, food sources, volunteers, community, bring it all together. I mean, they're making the same point as you did, of course. You are by volunteering, you are helping yourself as well, aren't you? You do a good job. You do something nice for other people, but there's a great benefit. For you personally as well, not least to learn the language and get involved in the culture here, but to be part of the community and all that's great about that for human beings, right?
Yeah, just to get to know other people in your community. So I've been there 5 years, so a lot of volunteers have come and gone. I've met a lot. I had one after a couple of years there. I was asked to be a shift manager.
Wow.
Which involved more work. It involved training the volunteers and showing them the tasks. And I had one shift that was all scouts. I had a troop of scouts who were my volunteers, so that was interesting. But, you know, for all ages of volunteers, basically, they're from school kids to, I think our youngest volunteer at the minute is about 14, and the oldest will be in the 70s.
Fantastic.
And you get to meet people. It's like I met my accountant at ReFood. You get to meet people who do a podcast, the local journalist. It's kind of really interesting people. And they come and go. And then when you out and about in town, you meet people. And it's nice. That makes you feel integrated. The fact that you're not anonymous in your town. People recognize you and say hi in the street. It's not much, but it makes a big difference to me.
I bet. And what was it like being you're obviously English and you're grappling with learning Portuguese. How was it to be a shift leader and instructing other people? It's quite a big responsibility, quite a big challenge by the sound of it.
That was a couple of years in, so my Portuguese was getting a bit better. But yeah, if a new beneficiary came along asking for support, I would be the one that had to speak to them. Wow. If any problems arose, I would be the one that had to speak to them. Yeah. I did have one volunteer who spoke really good English. So I would, if I got stuck, I had her to fall back on for help. But basically, yeah, it was. I did. After that, I had a couple of volunteers who were English, who were, I think, more comfortable volunteering there because I was a shift manager. Yeah. And they did speak a little bit of Portuguese. They did try, to learn the Portuguese, but they weren't comfortable just doing that. So, and I know at Caldas ReFood as well, there are some English volunteers. It's not necessary. And people are just, you're a pair of hands. If you've got a mountain of washing up, a pair of hands is a pair of hands.
Yes, indeed. That's the spirit. Yeah, amazing.
That's the good thing about it, because you've got a job to do, a common task, then the language matters less. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the focus isn't just on the brain work, is it, of learning a language? It's almost sort of a by the way, it's not the main focus, is it? So you don't need to get stressed about, I'm learning a language. You've got the task to do, and the language is sort of an ancillary thing coming into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, it's useful vocab that you're picking up anyway, because it's all the parts of the kitchen. It's all pass me a spoon, and can you wash this, and have you got that? Every day.
Vocab that way. Yeah, absolutely. And slow and steady vocabulary building, culture building. Wonderful. I'm inspired, says Maria Costa, one of your colleagues at Ask Our Expats in Good Morning Portugal. Going to find something to lend a hand to. That's great news, Maria. Beverly as well. Beverly made a brilliant concept. A willing spirit crosses many boundaries. That sounds lovely, and that would sound lovely in Portuguese as well, I suspect. Tremendous. Good to hear from you this morning, Beverly. On the matter of Ask Our Expats, let me just I keep mentioning it, so I'd need to explain myself, I think, really. We have a team of folks allied with with expatsportugal.com. Just trying to bring the page of our website onto the screen now so you can see what I'm talking about. Maria, who we just heard from there, and Pam are part of the team. So if you're abroad and you're thinking of coming to Portugal, which many people are in that condition, obviously, who watch the show, and you want some lifestyle, this isn't the kind of visa. I don't think Pam can take you through the visa process or tell you how to get involved in the non-habitual resident tax program necessarily. This is lifestyle stuff. Okay, what it's like to live somewhere. And you heard from Pam already talking about how she first started in the countryside and then moved to more of a town environment. And that's what you can do. Got people all over the country who will tell you what it's like to live in Portugal, person to person. On a very, look, I'm one of them. Oh look, I'm seeing the Barcelo though. I've got some bad news to report this morning. Me cockerel. Let me just, if I can come out of that for a minute. This is that's a sad sight, isn't it? That happened this morning. I've already glued his comb on before. Barcelo has had a haircut this morning. Sad moment.
Tragedy.
On this special day. But yes, going back to, that just reminded me, as you can imagine there. People all over the country, and Lynn in Madeira as well, for anybody who wants to know about Madeira. Umberto, wonderful Umberto, knows about classic cars, which is a real talking point, but also sustainable technology as well. Sarah, who's amazing, she does tours of Coimbra. There's a few Portuguese, proper Portuguese, real Portuguese, authentic Portuguese people in there as well. So that's the team, and you can hire them by the hour there. Pam is one of them. Maria, who was also in our chat as well. You need to go to Barcelos and pick up a proper one. Oh, this one is very dear to me. This is from Donna Grassa, who's our great friend, and she put my name on it. See, it says Carl. So he's already been glued once, but this will be in the family forever, I hope. As you know, maybe one day great granddad Carl's Barcelo cockerel, and you can see how many times he broke the head off it and had to glue it back on again. So yeah, on Antiques Roadshow, maybe. I see there are signs of breakage here, which slightly lessen the value. You need to go to Barcelo to bring up a proper one, says Umberto here, and who is also giving us a nice recognizing it's a family heirloom. So ordinarily, Pam, I would say, would you recommend volunteering to anybody? I mean, it's perfectly clear that you would. The whole show's been about that this morning. Anything that we've missed, though, that we need to tell people about to do with volunteering in Portugal?
I feel like we haven't mentioned much about animal volunteering.
Yes.
That's because there isn't any one organisation across Portugal that does this. So if you want to get involved in helping out in animal shelters, then it's a case of looking around what's local to you. Like a lot of towns have a dog shelter. There are donkey sanctuaries somewhere, I think. There's a lot of dogs and cats on the streets. A lot of I think there are some schemes now to neuter strays and things. So I guess you could get involved in that kind of thing. But generally, dog shelters are always busy, always need more volunteers, always need donations of food if you can't do anything else. Walking dogs, cleaning out the kennels. It's really worthwhile work, and also rehoming a dog. If you're looking for a dog, then I would recommend rehoming one rather than buying one from a breeder.
They often just turn up anyway, Pam, don't they? One of our dogs is...
I live in an apartment. That doesn't happen.
No, okay, fair enough. That would be a surprise, wouldn't you, if you had a dog on your terrace one morning? But it wouldn't be completely out of the way. And obviously, you've got lovely... You said Gary, right? As a female cat?
Yes.
Of course. Obviously.
Family tradition.
Family tradition, okay, to give a female...
It's short for Gabriella.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And yes, just point out, don't take it upon yourself to be going around neutering animals on the street. Leave that to the expert. I mean, Mia Ajmira, who comes along and teaches us Portuguese from time to time. That's a pet project of hers, pardon the pun. But that's what's happening in Portugal. Yes, definitely a lot of animal welfare projects. You can get involved in that and feel very good about it. Fostering as well. Fiona, our very own Fiona here. It was a sad day because she had fostered a dog on its onward journey to the UK. I think that sort of thing is going on, and she gave her home to a dog for a few weeks. So every possible angle on the animal welfare front, I think, is possible here. And John Rooney did just Google Translate "pass the knife," which must still make you laugh, I think. when you're working in the kitchen there, Pam, or are you completely over it now?
Yeah.
She's over it. It just leaves it to us silly schoolboy, humoured people like you and me, John. Sociedad Protectora dos Animais is another lead there from Humberto Gonçalves. Thank you very much for that, Humberto. So absolute wealth and treasury of leads, contacts, where to begin. I'll pop over to the forum and stick that up online now. Pam, been amazing. Was there anything else that we should mention? Because yes, we forgot the animals at first, didn't we? We've done that now.
There is just one more thing that certainly in Alcobasa, there are, as well as sort of washing up and cleaning up after dogs, kind of volunteering and cleaning up beaches, there are more enjoyable, pleasant ways to volunteer. Like, for instance, in Alcobasa, we have a classical music festival every summer, and they have volunteers to help prepare the venues, put chairs out, sell tickets, direct people to the seats, turn the page of the music for the pianist.
Ooh, big job.
Nice work. And you also get to enjoy the entertainment for free. So a lot of cultural events are not so well funded that they've got staff to do everything, and they may well have volunteering opportunities like that as well. That's certainly something I'm going to try and do this year. I've not managed it yet. But...
Well, we're finishing on a high note. Again, pardoning the pun there, of getting involved in concerts. Pam, it's been a pleasure to speak to you as ever. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And we'll see you tomorrow night for the Ask Our Expat session. That's open to everybody. What happens there is we'll introduce you to a few of our Ask Our Expats people so you can home in on a part of Portugal you're interested in if you're not here yet. And we have breakout rooms so you can quiz them even further as well as part of the evening. No, Thursday night, I do beg your pardon.
Thursday.
Yeah, 6. Tomorrow morning, Michael Heron returns. Heronius Maximus, as I affectionately call him, will be here to co-host Ask Anything About Portugal. Very popular chap, and he'll be here tomorrow. Pam, thank you so much, and looking forward to having a nice cup of coffee with you or an ice cream in Alcobasa soon.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
All right, ciao, ciao, take care, and thanks for all you do. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.